It is January 2nd, 2019, and we are here for our first Jump into January meeting. So welcome. If you are here live, yay! Great to see all your smiling faces. If you're listening to the recording, glad you could jump in later. So I'm going to do a little screen share here. So jump into January. So it is obviously a new year, and I'm just curious. I hope you guys have a pen and paper handy. If you don't, grab one now. Doesn't have to be anything, you know, super official or anything. Just something to take a few notes on. I want you to think about what does your best life look like? So we're not talking pampered chef yet. We're talking your life. You know, do you want to be debt free? Do you want to put your kids or your grandkids through college? Do you like to travel? Do you want more time with your children or your grandkids? Build a house, save for a wedding. I mean, think about and I want you to just write a few things down. When you think about your best life possible, write down just 2 or 3 things that kind of jump out for you. Anybody want to just give a shout out of something that just was the first thing that came to mind for you when you think about your best life?
Dream house.
Dream house. Okay. And do you have
catamaran?
Catamaran. Ooh, nice. Is that Belinda?
It is.
I would love to spend time on your catamaran.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll have a summer meeting at your place. Awesome.
Yeah.
What else jumps out at people when you think of your best life?
I want to travel with my kids.
Travel with your kids. Would they like Disney?
They would love Disney.
Okay, well, that's great. You don't even have to save for a trip. You can just earn one, right? Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So hopefully you guys have, you know, some big dreams, some visions for yourself. And then I want you to think about, most of us, when it comes to deciding what we're going to try, very often, if you're like me, you don't want to fail, right? And so maybe you hold yourself back from really going for the big thing because you're thinking, oh, that'll never happen for me. So I want you to think about, if you couldn't fail, if everything you tried for your business worked, everyone you talked to said yes, and everything you tried was successful, what would you do in 2019 with your Pampered Chef business? And you don't have to say it out loud, but I want you to write a couple things down. If everything you tried worked, and you couldn't fail, what would you do with your Pampered Chef business? And how would that fit into your vision of your perfect life for yourself and your family? Now, Michelle, I'm going to put you on the spot. I want you to answer this question very honestly. And don't worry, it's not going to be embarrassing for you. It'll probably be embarrassing for me. We've worked together for a lot of years, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I've set a lot of goals. How many times would you say that I have set a goal and missed it?
You set goals like daily. So,
No.
So yes, you do. You set a lot of goals. Have you missed a lot? I can't give you a percentage, but I do know that you do announce your goals and you do share them. And you also share when you don't meet them.
Yeah, I miss them a lot of the time. A lot of the time. But I find I come closer than I would have otherwise. Anybody else feel that way? When you set a goal and you try for it, you come closer than you would have been if you hadn't set the goal to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
I have fallen flat on my face so many times. I've set goals and then I never changed the goal. I just reset the timeline and maybe change my strategy. Because there's a quote that I love from Michelangelo. The greatest danger for most of us is not that our aim is too high and we miss it, but that we aim too low and we reach it. Okay? So I want you guys in 2019, think big, dream big, give it a try. What have you got to lose, right? Now, who knows what this is a picture of? What does that look like? David and Goliath. Yes. So most of us know the story of David and Goliath, right? Goliath was this well-armed giant who was expected to easily defeat any warrior that the Israelites put up. And as a result, no one wanted to volunteer. And then along comes David, who's not even a warrior. He's just a young shepherd, right? And of course, we all know the story. David uses his slingshot to take down Goliath. And the story is actually, I think, become sort of part of the fabric of our culture. It's become almost the metaphor for the underdog and improbable victory, right? But, and Michelle, I think if you could mute people because this.
I know, I was looking to see who that was. I don't see anybody who's not muted except me and you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't have any music in my background. Anyway, improbable victory, the underdog. We often, one of the first things that often comes to our mind is David and Goliath. But I want you guys, and I invite you to think about this just a little differently. Goliath was prepared for the typical battle or duel of his day. He wore a heavy metal helmet, these bronze shin guards, and they actually had plates that covered his feet. He carried a huge shield with no fewer, they say, than 3 weapons that were designed for close combat. They say that altogether, his armor and weaponry probably weighed well over 100 pounds. And had David come to the battle in the manner that Goliath and every other soldier assumed he would, David would have lost very quickly. But David didn't come to fight the battle on those terms. It says that Saul tried to give David his armor, but David refused because he told Saul he couldn't even walk with the stuff on. And he told Saul he had killed bears and lions as a shepherd in order to protect him and his flock. And he went into battle armed with courage and faith and a slingshot, right? So the story passed down to us tells us that David took Goliath down in one shot. But when I was thinking about it the other day, I thought, fighting the way David decided to fight, he could have taken all the shots he wanted because there was no way that Goliath could catch up with him, could keep up with him. He was like 16 years old. He could just run, right? And this guy with over 100 pounds of armor, he couldn't move that fast. So even if Goliath wasn't a good shot, he could have taken all day long to just take the shot he needed and win. So was it really an improbable victory? Not when the battlefield has been redesigned by David, right? So I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the book, David and Goliath by Malcolm Gladwell, but it's a book that I'm reading. And in the book, it tells us that if we look at all the battles that have been fought in human history, where one army way, way, way outnumbers and outarms another army, that's 71.5% of the time, the larger army wins. And that pretty much makes sense. It seems intuitively correct, right? However, when they look at those battles where the smaller armies redefined the battlefield and came prepared to fight a different sort of battle, then the smaller, seemingly weaker army won 63.6% of the time. So when the smaller army took what could be a weakness and turned it into a strength, then they weren't actually an underdog after all. The underdogs won more than half the time. So I'm going to do a screen share stop here. So I started thinking about what this could mean for us in our business. What do we sometimes assume? Like with David and Goliath, they assumed you need to be big and burly, you need armor, you need certain weapons, and then you're going to win. So I'm wondering, what are some of the assumptions that maybe we make about what it takes to be successful in this business? Who wants to share what comes to mind. What are some assumptions you make about what it takes to be successful?
You have to be full-time at it.
Yep, yeah, a lot of people think can't have another job outside of Pampered Chef. You gotta like have 40 hours a week to put into this. Yep, that's sometimes what a lot of people think, right? What else?
Deep catalog and product knowledge.
Oh yeah, you have to be a walking Pampered Chef encyclopedia in order to be successful. That's an assumption many people make.
Lynn's,
You have to know how, go ahead. But you know how, that you have to be a good cook.
Yeah, that was one of the assumptions I made and thought, oh, I'm
I
done
have,
for.
so that you have to know a ton of people.
Yeah, you have to have a huge network, right? Or a really big family. Yes. I thought you had to be really outgoing. I was very shy when I got started. Sometimes people think I have to own all the products. How can I sell it if I don't own it, right? I'm not going to be successful unless I own everything in the book. Anything else?
I thought you had to have a contract you were locked into.
Oh, yeah. You got to sign your life away, right? Yeah. So for every assumption that you guys listed and that I made myself as a new consultant, things that I thought were required to be successful, for each characteristic, I can easily give you the name of someone who didn't fit that mold. I'm not a good cook. Lori Preston has a job outside of Pampered Chef. She became a director and earned trips alongside a full-time job. What other assumptions? Michelle, I don't think you had a huge network of people when you first got started. Yeah. Who was not a good public speaker when they started? Lots of hands going up. Who's ever sold a product that they didn't own? Yeah. So a lot of it. So sometimes these assumptions that we make, we hold ourselves back. When all we need to do is kind of rethink the battlefield, right? So when I look at some people who have been very successful in this business who don't kind of fit that mold, one thing that I think that they all have in common, well, three things actually. Most of them had a very clear vision of what they wanted to accomplish with their business. They redefined the battlefield to fit their strengths. And they took what could be a weakness very often and turned it into a strength. And they certainly came to it with courage and faith. So most of the people that I know who don't fit the typical mold, they had to do some out-of-the-box thinking. Who's ever had or heard about an idea where you thought, oh my goodness, that's a game changer. I'd never heard of that before. And wants to share it. Yeah, Colleen.
I don't remember. I know I know I've had those moments, but I couldn't think of one right now. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Of course, I wrote the outline, so I've had time to think about it. I remember when I was newer and there was no internet or Facebook parties. And there was a person who worked crazy hours, was a single mom, had young kids, and she was a rock star Pampered Chef. And I was flabbergasted. I met her at conference and I said, how do you do it? And she said, well, I live in a small apartment, but in my apartment complex, we have a space, sort of a larger space that can be used. And she said, one day a month, I do a mega show and I invite, and I book it with 8 hosts, and each host invites their people and they each have a table. And she would do one show and every table had a color. Everything was color coded, so she would mix up the orders. And she would do 8 parties, one Saturday a month. And she earned trips and she earned income, and she did one party a month. And at that party, she knew the date of the next one, and she booked all of her parties for the next one from that one. Pretty crazy, right? Talk about changing the battlefield. You know, if you think, oh my gosh, I have to do tons and tons and tons of shows. Nope. She did. She found a way to make it work for her with some really at the time was totally out of the box thinking. Virtual parties. A few years ago, hardly anybody had heard of them. And that was crazy to think you could do a party without leaving your house. And then people started doing multiple virtual parties at a time. How many, who does a lot of virtual parties? Raise your hand. I don't see a lot of hands because a lot of they're just names. But most of the people that I know that do the bulk of their business through virtual parties, they never do one at a time. They run multiples at a time because they're posting the same thing to each show. And it's sort of like doubling or tripling a recipe. It doesn't take 2 to 3 times as long, right? You got 2 to 3 times the outcome for just a little bit more effort. So for those of you who've been around the block a little while, what are some of sort of the really sort of out of the box ideas you've heard over the years? I wish that we had Lori Toole on tonight. She's sick in bed. But this is a person who works a very stressful full-time job, 50 plus hours a week, and has kids. She earned the incentive trip, the Hawaii incentive trip, mainly through recruiting, because you get 3,000 trip points for every qualified consultant that you sponsor during the year. And she just knew that if she was going to earn this trip, she didn't have enough time, she believed, to do the level of shows that many of us do to get the trip. So she decided she was going to do it mainly on recruiting. That's kind of an out-of-the-box thinker. And she used the fact that she worked full-time and did this as just sort of a fun, what she called like a side hustle, and made serious money at it. So all of a sudden, instead of thinking, oh, I'm behind the 8 ball because I work full time and have this, really stressful job, she used it as an asset and said, hey, look at what I can do. If I could do this, you can do this. And as a result, she had a lot of people who might not have believed that they could fit this in, but they watched what she could do. And so she turned that into an asset. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. All right. So what I want you guys to work on this week, number 1, I want you to get a real clear vision in writing of what your best life looks like, and how Pampered Chef, and how you see Pampered Chef fitting into that in 2019. And I really encourage you to make your Pampered Chef goals based on your vision, not on what you think you can safely accomplish, based on what you might be looking at as the current battlefield. And by the way, I will post this assignment underneath the pinned post in OWL. So the next thing I want you to do is identify your strengths. List 2 or 3 things that you feel like are just natural assets that you've got, that you bring to the table. And then I want you to write down what you currently see as a weakness or a challenge. Any weaknesses or challenges, things that you currently see as challenges. Because what I want you to then do is reach out to your director, reach out to each other, and find find ways and think about it yourself, but don't just think about it in your own mind. I want you guys to reach out to each other to find out how you can turn what could be a weakness into an asset. Okay? So you guys might message each other or post underneath the
That's
the
what I was thinking of, if people don't want to kind of post that publicly.
Oh, no, they don't have to post it publicly.
Right, right. But so what I meant is, you know, they could post that, hey, anybody want to trade ideas with me, or, you know, kind of like pick somebody to be their sounding board type of
Yeah,
thing.
and you could, you know, without saying, here are my strengths or here are my weaknesses, if you guys don't mind saying, some of the things that I feel come naturally to me in the business are this, this, and this. And then if somebody else says, oh, that comes naturally to her because it sure doesn't come naturally to me. Well, the person that sees it as a weakness doesn't have to post, here's my weakness. But you can reach out to the person who has posted that this is a strength of theirs and say, you know, what do you do for that? Talk to your director, talk to each other, post questions in OWL to see what other people have done. Okay. So that's one of your assignments is kind of doing that visionary stuff. But then some of the nuts and bolts that I challenge you to do this week. Starting tomorrow, I know many of you said you wanted to work on recruiting for this year, because I know a lot of people are going for the Disney trip, and we get 1 trip point for every $1 we sell. So that's good, but we get 3,000 every time we sponsor a consultant who qualifies. And this is a time of year a lot of people are looking for something new, right? New year, new business. January is one of our busiest recruiting times of year because, like I said, a lot of people are looking to try something new, and many people have tax returns coming in. And, you know, so instead of buying a big TV, maybe they're going to take a little portion of their tax return and invest it in themselves and a new business for the year. So we're going to have a recruiting blitz from tomorrow, tomorrow, which is the 3rd, through the 6th. Okay. So each day we're going to post just a little thing that we encourage you to try. It shouldn't take more than 10 to 15 minutes a day. They're optional, but if you do them, you get tickets into drawings, and we will have one big honkin' grand prize. So, so check into OWL for the next few days, and I think that Lisa Lloyd actually posted about it today, so you can read up on that tonight. It's just a quick little post to give you a little bit of the details, and then I'll be on live tomorrow to give you your first activity. And then what I want you to do is sometime this week, send out 10 new friend requests. Okay, we need to just keep sort of building our online presence. So I want you to send out 10 friend requests. Doesn't matter who accepts it, just that you send it out. Oh, by the way, your friend requests need to be non-pampered chef. If you want to send friend requests out to people that you meet on this call, that is totally fine. We love that. That's wonderful. But it doesn't count as your 10. Okay. And then the third thing is over the course of the week, so by the time we meet again next Wednesday at 8:15, I want you to have done 25 two-way conversations that have to do with Pampered Chef. These don't have to be live conversations, but they can be if you talk to someone at your workplace or you talk to a neighbor when you go out to get your mail. That's fine. You talk to someone at the grocery store, that counts. But it can be just a quick text or Facebook message. As long as they respond in some way, shape, or form, even if they say no thank you, that still counts, okay? Because success in this business is mainly a numbers game. You just have to reach out to enough people. It's not about convincing them or twisting their arms or pressuring them. It's about reaching out to people, enough people, so that we find enough people who want what we have to offer. And by the way, I do have some wording, if you would like, I will post it. But this is how I filled a lot of my January.
Me
I just
too. Remember I told you today?
Oh, Michelle, go ahead, share.
Well, hello. Yeah, hello. I was faced with, at the beginning of December, I never hope to fill my following month from my shows. So, you know, in November, let's say, I could have said, oh, I don't have a lot of shows in January, but I've got 6 or 7 shows in December, and I just know I'm going to fill my January. I never, ever rely on that because shows cancel or attendance may not be good at those December shows. So I like to have my my leap ahead month filled up before that. So I was looking at my January calendar at the end of November, and I was saying, yeah, I have 2 shows. Yeah. That wasn't good enough for me because I was getting some cancellations for December. So I did exactly what Karen did. That's the best part of this business, is that when we find something that works, we love to share it, and it worked for Karen. And I did exactly this. I have a lot of people on Facebook. It's not that I'm popular, it's that I've been in business for 20 years. So I personally messaged probably about, I'd say 100 people.
Wow.
I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding you. The 2 shows was not enough for me. And as a result, I was sharing with Karen today that I'm up to 12 shows for January. And she said, well, how many of those came from shows? And I said, 3. The rest was from reach out like this. I just booked another one today because I followed up. I didn't just send it out. I followed up with the people I sent it out to.
Yep, so feel free to use this. The hardest part of this is you have to copy and paste a few different sections. So I just said, hey, guess what? Pampered Chef just announced some awesome bonuses. Yes, plural, for host in January. First, theirs, and I put about the double free. And then I said, and then if that wasn't awesome enough, there's this, and I put the 60% specials. I found by separating them, I just did a screenshot of the flyer, and I just found it was more readable by text than trying to put it all into one and have them just try to kind of open it up to read it. And then I just said, hey, you up for having some friends over for a Cabin Beaver blues party this month? And they could say yes, or they could say no, or they could say whatever they want. I didn't send it to anywhere near 100, but I probably sent it to 30 to 40 people. And I did it pretty quickly. I did it over 2 days, maybe 15 minutes a day. And I ended up with 4 to 5 bookings just from that. So I will post this wording in OWL as well, if you want to go ahead and use it. Feel free. I remember when Michelle was new in the business, she said, be wise, plagiarize. Anything that you see that we post in OWL or your team pages, you don't have to ask us permission. Can I use that? I mean, it's automatically assumed if we share wording or if we share an idea. It's there for, hey, guys, this worked for me. Go ahead and run with it.
Just change our name to yours, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't put our
I'll put our website, but yours.
Yeah. Okay, well, look at that. Exactly a half an hour. That was my goal. Woo-hoo. So, but I would love to, I'll stay on for a few more minutes. We can keep the recording going in case anybody has questions, comments. Lori, you look like you want to say something.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you guys.
Everything you tell us always works for me.
I'm a plethora of otherwise useless information.
You are a Pied Piper, and I follow you.
Oh, you're so cute. Thank you.
Well, thank you for doing this.
Oh, my pleasure. I know that I gain energy from working with others. because
Well-
you know we are a home-based business. We can kind of feel isolated, and that's no fun.
I took a very nice break over Christmas after I finished up my last parties, and I was ready to come back, but it was hard. It was like, oh, I know I got to call some people and get moving again. And
But
the,
maybe just one more chocolate.
what?
But then maybe just one more chocolate before we do that, right?
I ate 4 cookies today. Yeah,
Because it's
By the way, if any of you saw the straws that we sell, all decorated like reindeer, that was Colleen's handiwork.
But no, it was good. My husband had a really good analogy. I said, oh, this is really hard. He goes, I said, I was like, this is really nice. This is what my life would be like if, you know, if I gave this up. And then I'm like, oh, I don't want to give this up. So that was a split second. I'm like, no. But then I said, it's almost like, you know, he's like, yeah, you know, you just got to get back in the pool, you know, sink or swim. And I said, there's no sinking. I've been swimming for a while now. And he didn't mean it that way. But then we kind of came up with this thing and said, oh, he's like, no, it's kind of like you got out of the pool for a little while. You toweled off, hung out, you know, got some. And I said, yeah, now I'm ready to get back to the pool. So I'm back.
I was going to say, one of the main things that drew me to Pampered Chef was the fact that I could have the holidays off. I used to be a nurse. If I had Christmas Eve off, I had to be there for Christmas Day. If I had New Year's Eve off, well, I better get to bed and not have too much to drink because I had to be work, you know, 7 o'clock in the morning. And so for me to be able to take 2 to 3 weeks off, you know, from before Christmas to after New Year's, it's like, what a dream, to be able to really enjoy, savor, and jump into the holidays and do the baking. And I love to wrap the gifts, and I love to decorate the house and all of that. So yeah, I too take some time off. And then, yeah, and you're standing at the edge going, is the water cold? I know it was cold when I jumped in before, but I know as soon as I jump in, it's going to be good. So yeah.
I agree with Colleen. I ended up having the 21st to today off from my full-time job. So I kind of let everything lie until Sunday. I finally reorganized my office. It's completely set up. So now it's time to, no excuse.
Yep.
Just have to come in the room, close the door, and get to business.
Well, you know what? It's only January 2nd. And I'm telling you, I took the wording that I'm going to be sharing with you guys. And in 2 days, I booked like 5 parties.
I just booked another one today with that same organ.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not hard, and it didn't even take a lot of time. Like I said, it was about 15 minutes one day, 15 minutes the next of just copy paste. To family, friends, past customers, you name it, just kind of throw it out there. I think sometimes the anticipation is worse than the doing.
Yeah.
Right? So I encourage you not to overthink it. Don't prejudge. Don't think, oh, who's going to want a show? Because you know what? I find the people that I think that are going to say yes don't, and the people that I'm absolutely sure are going to say no, they're the ones that are booking. I'm like, I am so bad at reading minds. You know, I just need to kind of throw it out there. So yeah.
Are you having more luck with Facebook or emails? What's your best?
It's interesting. I did a lot by Facebook, but then there were a few hosts that I wasn't friends with on Facebook, and I emailed them. And a very high percentage of like the 6 people, I think of the 6 people I emailed, 3 of them got back to me right away and booked. And I was like, wow, that was kind of crazy. But there were people that, you know, I knew one of them wanted the quick cooker. I knew one of them wanted that stainless steel frying pan. So I had reached out particularly to say, yeah, if you've been waiting for the perfect month to have a show, wait no longer. It's the perfect month. You know, I don't ever get much from a post through Facebook, but sometimes I'll do a post and then tag people and then personally message them. But definitely I find that personal outreach, and I find that the way to really just assure it is just reach out to a lot of people, and then you're bound to misses.
I have a
I've been
question on our
getting,
customer list from the I know it's Consultant Corners. Is there a way to export that?
You are asking the wrong girl. That is not one of my strengths. But I think Mel might know that. Something tells me Mel might know.
Okay, I'll reach out to her.
Mel's right here. Do you know the answer to that, Mel? You're muted.
Say it again, Sue. You want to export your.
My contacts from all my customers from my prior shows in the last 2 years that I've not had contact with, to have a list.
You
so
can
that I can go in.
export a report, and the report can be done in PDF format or Excel format, and then you can sort it that way. So you first have to like have it pull whatever information it is that you're looking for, and then you can export that report.
Okay, I'll have to go try that. If I have any questions, I'll PM you. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you guys for being on. Michelle, I think you can stop the recording. And I will stay on for another couple